The PlayStation 6 might just be the AI console of the future. And tell me that doesn't sound good. We just got some interesting news from Mark Cerny, the lead architect of the PlayStation 5, who said that machine learning based frame generation will be coming to Sony consoles in the future. So, in this video, I want to unpack that statement, talk about the pros and cons of AI based frame generation, and also just talk about some of the mystery and the mystique surrounding the upcoming PlayStation 6. So before we get into all that, I do want to say that on my channel, I typically make a lot of Nintendo content, talk about the Switch and Switch 2. But in my heart of hearts, at my core, I am a Sony fan. And I've been riding with Sony since the PlayStation 1, picked up all their consoles over the years, and I can't say that for Nintendo or Xbox or any other platform, but Sony's been, where my heart's at over the years, and I really appreciate what Sony does and the PlayStation console. So, with that out of the way, let's talk about this machine learning based frame generation technology that, again, the lead architect of the PS5 said is coming to Sony consoles in the future. And we can only assume that means the PlayStation 6. I would assume they're saving this technology for that. Although it is possible that this comes to the PS5 or the PS5 Pro. We really don't know yet, but again, let's get into the technology, right? So, what is ML based frame generation or AI based frame generation? And what that really is basically, leveraging AI technology, machine learning technology to input fake frames into your gameplay to give you, a higher frame rate and a smoother gameplay experience, right? And that all sounds good. And in a lot of ways, it is good. But there is some downsides to that technology that we'll talk about. But let's just focus on the pros again right now for a little bit. And this is really exciting because this is going to allow Sony to really improve the look, the performance, the feel of their games on future consoles, right? And one thing I quickly want to talk about in regards to AI and how it's affecting gaming is that, over the years, if we look at the console generations of the past, the gap in technology, the gap in excitement, or the wow factor between console generations has kind of been shrinking and shrinking each time a console gets launched, right? Like the jump from the 8 to 16-bit era was huge and exciting, and the 16-bit to 32-bit era, etc., all the way up until about the PS1 or the PS2, I would say. And then those generational leaps have kind of been getting smaller and smaller, right? You don't typically see huge improvements between consoles, although there are big improvements, right? But you don't see huge generational leaps like we used to. And this is where I think AI is really going to shine because I haven't really seen a technology over the past 10 plus years that's really given me hope for that huge generational leap, right? We did have VR, we did have some things like that, but I think VR really fell short. And it's just too early for that technology to really have that wow factor, that generational leap. But this is where AI, I think, comes into play. And I think this AI based frame generation technology Sony's talking about is one of the first steps in that direction, right? Because if you think about how fast AI is growing and the time we typically have between consoles, right? We usually see about 8 years before console release. 8 years in the world of AI and computing and what that technology can do is huge. So I really think over the next few console generations, with the help of AI, we are going to see those giant generational console leaps again. And I'm really excited for that. And that's why I'm really excited to see this news. Now, I do also want to say that, ML based frame generation, this isn't a new technology. It's been around for a while. PC players are probably used to this if you got a high end graphics card, but it is fairly new to consoles, right? And the technology is getting better and better. But we do have to talk about what's the downside, right, of AI based frame generation. And this is where things get a bit tricky, right? So typically, the downside with this technology is that it's introducing lag or latency to your gameplay, which is not a good thing at all. And this is really a problem for competitive gamers, right? People who love first person shooters, that type of thing. And the reason you get this latency is because it's not a real frame that AI is generating, right? It's a fake frame in between two real frames. And that adds a little bit of lag or latency. So that is the downside of the technology, although they are trying to improve that, right? They are working to reduce that latency, resolve that issue, but it still very much is a real issue today. Now, with that said, my hope here is that when they introduce this, most likely into the PS6, that this is just an optional feature, something you can toggle on or off when you're playing a game, right? Just like you can change the performance mode or the frame rate mode on existing games today. I expect this to be another one of those features where you can turn ML or AI based frame generation on or off. And I think that would be awesome just to have the option, just to boost those frame rates on certain games where that lag impact isn't really an issue. So I thought the news is pretty exciting. And again, I'm really excited for the PS6. I think I'm a lot more excited for the PlayStation 6 than I was for the PS5. And I've had a lot of fun with the PS5, gotten a lot out of it. Never went for the PS5 Pro, although I kind of do want one, but I think at this point, might as well just wait for the PS6, right? But this is exciting, really curious to see what more Sony is going to do with AI. ML based frame generation isn't the first AI technology they brought to PlayStation, right? They recently brought the PSSR technology to the PS5, PS5 Pro, right? Which is an AI upscaling technology. So they're really going all in with AI, which isn't a surprise because, to be honest, that seems like what every business everywhere all over the world is doing now. But again, I'm excited to see it come to gaming. I'm excited to see how it's going to change consoles over the next decade plus. And again, really excited, hoping that we get those big generational leaps again. So let me know your thoughts on this. Are you surprised to see Sony doubling down on AI technology? Have you used this kind of AI frame generation technology? Share your pros and cons. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe for more. And that's it. Have a good day.